Good afternoon. It is high noon in New York. My name is Bobby Haber, and I would like to welcome everybody here in the room and everybody out there in the world of Zoom to our next panel. And it is a good one. We're here at DROM, which is in Manhattan's East Village. If you haven't been here, please do come check it out. Whether you can come tonight, we have a live music showcase beginning at 7 o'clock. And anytime, of course, beyond Mondo, because it's a great independent venue, and we all know how important it is to support those venues. Now, we are going to welcome you to Anyone Can Be a Music Critic, analyzing data for emerging artists. And this is going to focus on exactly that and a very cool new app called Piki. That's P-I-K-I. Their site is Piki.NYC. In this talk, Sasha Stoikov, who is the founder, will specifically talk about how music data is weighed to serve well-known artists. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a step back. The beauty of live is that you can actually do it all over again, and everybody notices. These days, recommendation algorithms do in fact weight music data to serve well-known artists over lesser-known ones. That's very important. Sasha is a senior research associate at Cornell Tech here in New York on Roosevelt Island. His research focuses on music recommendation algorithms and financial data science. And as I said, he is the founder of Piki, and the music app serves as a focus group for the music industry and has really got great insight into those, in fact, lesser known emerging artists who are really the ones who are in need of sort of, we'll call them fair or fairer algorithms. Anyway, enough of me. Sasha, come up on stage. Everybody, please welcome Sasha Stoikov from Piki.
Thanks, Bobby. All right, well, I'm delighted to be here. My name is Sasha Stoikov. I'm a faculty at Cornell Tech, which is this beautiful 21st century kind of campus that is a satellite to the Cornell University. It's on Roosevelt Island, kind of between Manhattan and Brooklyn. And if you visit there, then hit me up and I'll give you a little tour. So what I do is I teach and I research financial trading algorithms. And so I've worked with data and especially in predicting the outcomes on where the stock prices are going to go at a very high frequency. And in the last 5 years, I've become sort of fascinated with music data, and seems like a very different kind of data, but in a way it is binary data. We either like or dislike a song, and we either buy or we sell a stock. So at the heart of it is something very similar, and that I think has inspired me to develop Piki. So what's Piki? Piki is a music app that's designed for music critics, and I believe that I consider myself a bit of a critic. I believe that many people out there, in fact, anyone can have an opinion on music, and I'd like to engage you a little bit and sort of describe to you the interaction between critics and algorithms, and hopefully demystify algorithms. So I have this this title, which is Anybody Can Be a Music Critic, which sort of drives the Piki app, or rather the interface of the Piki app. But really, I'm here to work with people in the music industry and essentially give them a way to test drive music. So, the idea obviously of test driving it before you buy a car and spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, you really want to sort of make sure, get a sneak preview of whether that's worth it or not. And if you and I believe that we can with data help the music industry achieve that. So yeah, at Cornell Tech, there's also a thriving startup community, which I've had the chance to work with, and they've inspired me really to work with the actual industries that we are serving, and that's why we're here at Mondo.NYC to really understand and to help this business from many perspectives. So The talk will sort of have three parts, and afterwards I'd like to hear questions from you all. The first part is really a mini lesson on how music algorithms work. I'll tell you a little bit how they use data to come up with, the classic insight. If you like A, you might like B. Really, there are many ways to come up with these conclusions, and I'll describe their advantages and their disadvantages. And then I'll sort of zoom in on this other entity, which is almost like the opposite of an algorithm, which is this very unique, subjective music critic that tells you their personal opinion. And in fact, we find those to be tremendously engaging, although they don't have the huge scale that algorithms have, and this promise that really music can be recommended and understood at a large scale. After this little introduction, I'll go into Piki, the music app. So how is it that we satisfy these music critics and let them express their opinions? And essentially, I'll show you what the app interface is and give you an insight on the data that it collects. Data is very binary. It's similar to a dating app where you might like and dislike, but instead of liking and disliking other people, people are liking and disliking musical content, some of which the users have never seen before, the critics have never seen before. And finally, I'd like to go and really engage with you all and allow you to test drive your songs through our app, and they will be presented to these music critics. And I'll describe to you a little use case with some artists that we've worked with and labels that we've worked with to give you an idea of what to expect. So, how music algorithms work. In a nutshell, at the heart of every music recommendation algorithm, or in fact, any algorithm you may have encountered on the internet, there's this idea of if you like A, you might like B. Now, it seems mysterious, but really, at the heart of it all, that's all that an algorithm is. Now, what kind of data does it see, look at, analyze in order to come up with these conclusions? There are many ways that I'd like to describe, or sort of, there are three main ways that I've seen out there. But I just want to reassure you that although these algorithms sometimes are perceived as complex, strange entities that are trying to do strange things to us humans, at the heart, that is what they're doing. So I would like to next get a little bit into the heart of, one example of how algorithms get this insight. One of the first approaches has been the one that Pandora took in the early 2000s, and that's the idea of a music genome project. Every song has a sort of a DNA, and really, when you like a certain type of song, maybe you will like something in the neighborhood of that song. And so what does the neighborhood mean? Well, essentially, computers are great at scanning millions of songs and looking at patterns at the frequency level, at the beat per minute level, potentially more complex transformations of the wave file. But we're talking about wave files being compared to each other. And what algorithms do, and often the word machine learning and AI is sort of used in this context, is the songs are decomposed into bits compared to each other, and essentially if you like A, you will like B. Now this has some promise that it can scale. Of course, that's a wonderful thing, that even a song that's never been heard before could potentially be processed by an algorithm in this way. But if you're a music lover, there are probably you will start thinking about failings of why this method might not work. So the example I always think of it in the context of this type of recommendations is I love Bob Dylan, but the actual sonic quality of his voice, if I found another song that resembles it and the sort of arrangements that he has, and I find a song that resembles it, my guess is that I would be disappointed by this other song. In fact, probably what I'm looking for is something quite different from Bob Dylan. Maybe, the next Bob Dylan doesn't sound like Bob Dylan. So there's something very programmatic and scalable about this approach, but there's also something, it's probably the least human approach to music. So the second approach is one that is related to song metadata, something that I'm sure many of you are very familiar with, is attributes or tags related to songs. So you may have the title, the publisher, genre, subgenre of a song, other artists, the year of recording. I forgot to include the country or the language of the song, but essentially things that relate to a song. And then an algorithm, if this requires a bit more human work because people do have to tag all these songs appropriately. And one of the nightmares, I think, of the data in music is that sometimes these tags are not properly done, and this might give difficulty to algorithms. But essentially, the idea of if you like A, you might like B is the same. If you see a song, if you like a particular song and it has certain attributes, the algorithm may recommend songs that have similar attributes. Now, this also has its own problems. Many people have become extremely eclectic in their tastes, and really being pigeonholed in a genre is not very helpful. In other words, I may like hip hop, but I may have very differing opinions about various songs that fit in that genre. So now I'd like to come to sort of the state of the art. Probably a large majority of the algorithms you might find on YouTube or on Spotify or on Apple Music work in the following way. And this is a method called collaborative filtering, which is, of the three methods, probably the most human method, in the sense that really the algorithms are paying attention to the engagement that people have around music. And really the methodology behind this, if you like A, you might like B, is similar to people who listened to A also listened to B. So really the best way to visualize this is in a Venn diagram. If you have two songs and you observe many people who have listened to both of the songs and fewer people that have listened to one and not the other, and vice versa, you might conclude that people who like song A might like song B. And really this is, if a streaming app uses this method, it's highly scalable. And now what are the drawbacks of this method? Well, one of the biggest drawbacks is that this works rather well with very famous artists. Artists that have not been played a lot don't have enough data, and essentially these recommendations don't work very well. Another thing that may be a problem here is that what is the reason that many people may have listened to song A and song B on streaming apps? That probably means that they ended up on a similar playlist and were both listened probably passively by people who listen to that playlist. What we don't know is that potentially there may be many people who liked song A and really disliked song B, and vice versa. So by measuring likes or plays, we are missing half the story, which is that certain people, for example, the people who are on the song A, circle, but not in the song B, Do we know that they disliked song B? No, they may not simply not have heard song B. So the people in the intersection presumably heard both, but maybe they had strong opinions about which one was better. So the biggest problem here is probably the bias towards popularity. So if, an example might be that many fans of Nirvana and Pearl Jam exist in this intersection, but we're not we can't measure really the amount of people who are huge fans of Nirvana and really don't like Pearl Jam, just to give an example. All right, so what do we do when algorithms fail to impress, or when they start boring us or giving us predictable recommendations? We tend to turn to human critics. And those are very engaging. So there's this entire generation of people on YouTube, of which this guy, Anthony Fantano, is probably the most famous one, who go on long rants about the best new releases in music. They also happen to go on long rants on their least favorite music of the year. And those can sometimes get even more engagement. Why? Because they're fun. And ultimately, these critics view their role as a discoverer of talent and a propagator of this talent. Now, there's one very classic rebuttal to critics in general, is that every once in a while, you completely disagree with what they think. And I think this quote from The Big Lebowski kind of says it all. These are, after all, just your opinions. And so I've been fascinated by the interplay between algorithms that are very objective and have these calculated large-scale truths, and these very individualistic, subjective people that are humans that are often much more exciting, but sometimes have a huge disconnect with you. So if algorithms and critics can bridge the gap and speak to each other, I think we could be onto something really great. So I guess at this point is when I go into part 2 of the talk, where I introduce you to Piki, an app that is on the App Store, Android and iOS, which is designed for music critics. And in a nutshell, this is an app that resembles a dating app, where critics rate large quantities of music by skipping, liking, or super liking them. The songs that they love go to playlists that they then play on their favorite streaming apps. And essentially, it's a very fun app that even offers rewards as you level up. And so Piki critics are actually rewarded for their taste. Now, that is my sort of professorial take or description of the app. In the next slide, I'd like to play a little video by an actual YouTube music critic who is able to speak much faster than me and essentially convey a lot of information in 1 minute. So let's see what you guys think of him.
We all feel strongly about the music we love or hate, and Piki is a free app that generates short song clips to help you discover new music based on your own taste, even getting you paid just for listening the more you dive in. Their algorithm quickly picks up on what you seem to be either liking or skipping, and to make the recommendations even better, they just rolled out a new feature that lets you connect your Spotify so you'll get to the good stuff you'll love even faster. Piki is free and you can download it using the top link in the description down below. Think of it like Tinder, but for music, because you can either like, dislike, or even super like a song, and those super likes stick together in a playlist you can easily drop back into at any time. Every time you hit a new level on the app, it's another dollar you get paid through Venmo just for having an opinion and discovering music. It's a super cool, easy to use experience, so give it a try at the link below, and now let's talk about this new album by Imagine Dragons.
Okay, so I realize this all went very fast, and I'd like to zoom into a few features of the app before I go into the part where I ask you to test your own music in the app. So as I'm describing the app, please think of the kind of artists, the kind of videos, the kind of songs that you might be interested in testing, and I'll try to describe as best as I can the kind of results that we can get for you. So one aspect of the app which I think is very important is this main dynamic, which is the way users or critics are allowed to skip, like, or super like songs. So there is a timer that unlocks these buttons in a progressive way. And the reason this happens is because we want users to vote truthfully. In other words, we don't want them to just like everything. We want them only to like the things that they've invested time in. And in fact, to super like a song, a user or critic needs to really engage with it for a significant amount of time. And significant means 12 seconds in our case. So now we have a 3-second timer before you're allowed to skip a song. This allows critics to give every song a chance. Just because it's a genre that may usually irk you, we don't want people to dislike it. We want to give the song a chance to charm the critic. After 6 seconds, we start giving the possibility to like, which is typically an endorsement of the song, but not the highest endorsement. After 12 seconds, we offer the super like button. Why is this more important? First of all, you invest more time in it. But secondly, if you super like a song, this will appear on a playlist that you can listen to the song in full. And I say in full because after 30 seconds, the clip ends and you can either listen to it again, make your decision, and then go on to the next song. So here's a little bit, I wanted to do a little side-by-side analysis between Piki and YouTube, just to give you the statistics of how Piki is used in a radically different way than YouTube. So on, maybe I'll start with YouTube on the right, because you're more familiar with this. This is a video by an artist called Junior Mesa, and I'll talk about him a little bit more later. He has 42,000 views on this video, of which 347 have been liked and 18 have been disliked. So what you can see from this is that 99% of people who viewed this video gave no feedback to YouTube and its algorithm. About a bit less than 1% gave a positive feedback, and a much smaller number, 0.1%, gave it a negative feedback. So we see human nature at play. We prefer giving endorsements than disliking. That, the most flagrant example of this is on Uber drivers. You'll see that every driver in New York has a 4.99 score. That's somewhat similar to what's happening on YouTube. Now, if you look at the Piki interface, and these are the stats on average, not for this song, but on average, 60% are skips. Why? Because it's easy. After 3 seconds, I can skip. 30% are liked, and only 10% are super liked and kept onto these playlists for the critics listen to later. That's in essence why we call this app Piki. So the pickiness requires an investment, and when we measure a lot of likes or super likes in a song, we know it's real, and we know that it's a signal. And this signal emerges after 100 or 200 ratings rather than tens of thousands or millions of ratings. So that's why we think that this could be a way to test your songs early. So a few other details that might be important to convey. First of all, there's no search bar on Piki, so there's really no way to manipulate the likes or the numbers by sheer popularity. So the songs that critics discover range from extremely popular artists to extremely unknown artists, and we don't want to encourage a bias towards popularity, because those are the artists that people search for. Critics vote on every song, so we give them an opportunity to skip, like, and super like, but unlike YouTube, where many people watch videos and do nothing about it, we ask our users to be very active. And finally, there's this cash reward, which sort of gamifies the experience for our critics. As they level up into their rating experience, they get paid on Venmo, and we found that Venmo is an app that many of these critics love using, and essentially they love receiving these micropayments, and their friends will often find on Venmo that they've been paid to rate music, which is an intriguing proposition for many of our target audience. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, and in a way it's sort of the magic sauce, why is this app so fun to use? The algorithm that powers Piki basically, the magic of it is not so much in the algorithm, but in the data that it has. This binary like-dislike data is of a very different nature than what streaming apps collect, which is essentially plays, or think of them as just likes. And in fact, social media apps do the same. They mostly collect likes, and we know how this favors celebrities, at least anyone who's tried to be a celebrity on Instagram may know that. So this is a little video that was produced by some of my colleagues at Cornell, and it gives, in a nutshell, this proposition. It describes a paper that I wrote with some computer scientists at Cornell Tech, and essentially the value of the dislike. Okay, so before I go on to a description of what does this look like in terms of test driving your music and finding out data about your music, I'd like to describe a little bit a paper called Evaluating Music Recommendations with Binary Feedback for Multiple Stakeholders that we presented with some colleagues at Cornell Tech. And essentially, the idea of this paper, based on data that Piki generated, was to segment and understand the stakeholders of the music industry or of a music app. And we broke this down into three main stakeholders: well-known artists, i.e. artists that may have more than 1 million monthly listeners; lesser known artists, so artists that are below this threshold; and the consumers, or the satisfaction of the users of an app. And in the rows that you see there, we've included several kinds of algorithms, some that just recommend popularity, the most popular artists, some that recommend the least popular artists, and then an algorithm called WRMF, weighted regularized matrix factorization. Anyways, a lot of complex mumbo jumbo, but essentially this is the kind of algorithm that drives recommendations behind Spotify, a collaborative filtering algorithm. And what we've done is we've taken this somewhat off-the-shelf algorithm and we've trained it on the likes in Piki. And we've then done the same exercise and trained it or given it data to learn on likes and skips or dislikes. And so what you can imagine would happen happened, which is that the effectiveness of these algorithms, of course, on a different data set than the one they've been trained on this fresh new data set, is that they performed much better for all three stakeholders. So we found that there was a big uptick in the ability for this algorithm to predict the taste of the consumers, but we also found that it had a very much more efficient discovery system for lesser known artists and well-known artists. So it's not an algorithm that, how shall we say, or a training method that gives preference to let's say the indie artist against the well-known artist, but rather helps everybody. So this is the part when I get to sort of charm you into using the Piki app or the Piki data. And it goes back to this idea of before investing money on music, so whether you're an artist manager, a booker, a label, and anyone that actually will put money behind a song or an artist, you may want to know how it will do or to predict the future. And this is because of the number of the thousands of critics that we have using the Piki app. When very little time for very low cost, we'll be able to give you insights. Now, because we're here presenting this at Mondo, we'll even give you 2 songs that you can test for free. And the reason we want to do this is we want to essentially test the reactions, and we want to impress you essentially with our data. So let's jump into the data so you get a sense of what comes out of a Piki test. So here are some of the entities that we're here to serve. The artists, whether they're well-known or lesser-known artists. We want to help labels, publishers, artist managers, and booking agents. So we know that all of these entities have decisions to make, such as, should I release this song or that song? Or if I release this song, to whom should it be marketed, and where is the potential audience? And those, those are definitely, if you are on this list, then we'd love to have you test your music with us. So last summer, we reached out to many labels, and some of them were very intrigued in what we were doing, and they offered 2 of their songs, sometimes by 2 songs by one artist, sometimes 2 songs by 2 different artists, and sometimes they were very well produced videos, and sometimes they were just album covers. In some cases, they were not even yet released, but they were sort of anonymously posted on YouTube, and because that is the way we ingest these songs. But and essentially these labels put the songs in our system, which means that a large amount of our critics saw them and gave their opinion on the songs. So what comes up out of this is a bit like a horse race where some songs simply performed better than others, and we'll look at some of these results without divulging the names of those that didn't do too well. Why? Because I'd like to focus on the positive, and I'd like to think that your songs are amazing. So in the next slide, I'll give you a little sense. This is the one formula that I've included in this talk, and it's essentially the formula on the left, the Piki like rate. So you count the number of likes for a song, and you divide it by the total number of views. So likes plus dislikes. Just to make things simpler, well, I haven't used the super likes here, but just think of this as binary data, likes divided by likes plus dislikes. And so what you can see is that if you have, this panel of critics, here I've only included 10, but in reality, we're polling hundreds of these critics. And if you look at these three songs, A, B, and C, you can see that song A is liked 40% of the time, song B is liked 50%, song C is liked 50 and 60%. So we're able to compute this score that allows you to compare music. Now, of course, certain genres and certain types of artists score much higher than others. So in order to do a sensible A/B test, we recommend comparing songs that are comparable, maybe in the same artists, maybe the same genre, maybe the same quality of content. So what comes out of this is essentially these graphs that might look like spaghettis to you, or potentially like stock prices that are or cryptocurrencies that are moving around through time. So we have the timeline here. The x-axis goes from 0 to 400. So these are all the songs that we received that we rated 400 times. And what we're showing on the y-axis is this Piki like rate. So how often are the songs liked? And every little spaghetti that you see here is a song. Now, what you see is that there's a pretty broad range of reactions. The best performing song in this group was liked roughly 50% of the time. And the one that performed the least well was liked roughly 15% of the time. And then there's a big range of songs in the middle. Now, what I want you to pay some attention to is if you look at the middle or the first part of the graph, let's say around 100 or 200, actually take the middle, at 200 votes, you can see that certain songs are already outperforming others. And I think the main message here is that if you go from 200 rates to 400 votes, although those are 200 entirely different human beings, there's a certain stability, or this score stabilizes. And so what that means is that we're getting more and more confidence over time that these are significant differences in engagement. So what we have here, so if you could go back just one, what we have here is that one of the winners of this little horse race was an artist that has 100,000 monthly listeners. And surprisingly, some of the artists that you see here have in the millions of listeners. So this was a pretty interesting sort of surprise that Junior Mesa did rather well. And Junior Mesa was delivered, his songs were delivered by his label Nice Life. And we've engaged with Nice Life in giving them further insights into how well Junior Mesa has done. In fact, what we did is we tested 2 of their songs, and this is, I'm zooming into the 2 specific songs that Nice Life A/B tested with us. So what you see again here is one of these spaghetti graphs where we have 400 votes, and we can see that already after 100 or 200 votes, the song Paranoia Dreams was already outperforming the song Listen Close. And so this, I think just to give a little bit of color, I'd like to give you a sort of a 20-second snippet of each of these songs, the ways the Piki critics perceive them, and maybe ask yourself, would you have liked either of these songs? Would you have this sort of skipped them? And does your opinion reflect what the results tell us? So let's play song A, which is called Paranoia Dreams.
Something's on my mind, baby. Ain't gonna lie, it's crazy. Paranoia dreams of something watching me. Panic out my window. My nerves crescendo, but I don't see a thing. Just paranoia dreams, no, love.
So that was song A, Paranoia Dreams. And now song B, Listen Close, starts 37 seconds into the song, and you'll see what that part looks like.
Something's on my mind. The electric impulses mess with my brain. But no, don't go. I can't let go. The push and pull. It sounds controlling when the feelings stay hold. Oh, listen close. You're all I know. No, please don't go. Tell me why you're messing with me. Giving you everything I can.
What these songs are, I personally would have had a hard time picking a winner here, but the results of the critics seems to be significant, and we've encouraged Nice Life to put some of their resources towards Paranoia Dreams. Of course, the next question is, what do we do about this? You know, and that's the possibly just as important as comparing or test driving two songs is how do we market these songs once we've decided to endorse them or to put a budget behind them. So in the next slide, I'd like to show you
The electric impulses.
what the second, beyond the Piki like rate, the second data point that we focus on. So this is the idea of a Piki song similarity or match percentage. So we're able to say, for example, if we test song A and song B, we're able to see all the people who liked both songs, the people who disliked both songs, or skipped both songs, and the people who sort of disagreed, who skipped one but liked the other. Now, what we can do with this calculation, which is sort of illustrated on the right, is that we can see that when two songs really share an audience in a significant, strong way, and we can quantify this with numbers. So it's not just song A, if you like song A, you might like song B. It's more concrete. It's 80% of the people tend to agree on the songs A and B. So we get something much more surprising than, are they in the same genre? Are they sort of similar in other ways that I've described before? So this is the marketing analysis we did for Paranoia Dreams. So we provide here, just to make it simpler, we provided 5 songs that had the biggest match percentage with the target song. So the first song you see here is Junior Mesa, Paranoia Dreams. And of course, it has 100% match with itself, so it's a bit redundant, but I'm just including that first row. And Junior Mesas has 100,000 Spotify monthly listeners, and we show you the link. Now, of course, Piki critics are rating many thousands of other songs as they're rating this song, and these patterns we think are significant. And so we showed Nice Life, or Brad at Nice Life, the results of this song similarity analysis. And the first thing he told us is, we've been talking to Monsoon and we really want to do a project together with them. And I was sort of happy to hear that. And in fact, I think that the kind of insights that we're trying to get are very much actionable insights. So we're not looking for vague similarity or you like this, you might like that. We're looking for strong, more significant results here. And of course, we could do a YouTube listening session here and listen to all the other songs and see whether they relate emotionally. I've done that, and I find them to be very closely related in a way that is hard to explain with metrics such as frequencies and genres and so on. So in the last slide, I'd like to reiterate that I'm here to do this, to test drive your songs for free. And it's extremely easy. You just select YouTube videos that you want to test. You tell me when the clip needs to start, and we will show them to hundreds of music critics and give you the type of data that I've described to you today. Now, if you want, you can scan this QR code with your phone. It'll send you to the Piki website, which you want to be on the artists and labels section. And within 5 minutes, you can submit videos, and we'll get back to you with some results. Now, if you have more questions, maybe there's some people in the virtual world that have questions. If you feel shy to ask them at this conference, feel free to email me, Sasha at Piki.NYC or at Piki.NYC. No, maybe there are some locals that want to ask questions as well. Yeah, so we have around 95 or 96% of our users are in the United States. The Venmo app happens to work in the United States, so that is one reason, but we've also pushed our marketing and our efforts to recruit critics in the US. Now, there's also, you might want to know age demographics. So, most of our users are in their 20s, but we do have a wide range as well. We do have some teenagers as well as 40-year-olds like me. Yeah. Yeah, in a way, by having users that are US based, we allow labels to test drive their songs in the US, though they may not be based in the US. Yeah.
Oh no, I think that's it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Sasha, and everyone at Piki, and everyone who joined us on Zoom virtually. If you're here, we have pizza and refreshments, and we invite you to stay, hang around, have some lunch. So thanks.
Thank you all.
Hello everyone, this is Caroline Alves. I'm very happy to be part of Mondo with Swiss Live Talents. I hope you will enjoy the event and I hope to see you very soon.